Welcome to GST 203 Introduction to Philosophy and Logic. Today we are going to study Module 1 and Module 1 Unit 1, an overview of philosophy. This module is divided into 6 units and it will introduce you to the nitty-gritty in philosophy. Definition and scope of philosophy. This unit will focus on the controversial nature of the definition of philosophy as a discipline, which will include both the layman and academic understanding of the term. Each philosopher defines philosophy based on what he or she perceives as the central problem, or what we may call the subject matter of philosophy. Various conceptions of philosophy. Some of the definitions are discussed under the following conceptions: under laborer conception, the master scientist conception, clarification of concepts, love of wisdom, the search for truth. Master scientist's conception of philosophy is itself the result of philosophical doctrine that sees knowledge as exclusively depending on sense experience. In more recent times, this philosophical doctrine has come to be known as scientism. This conception repudiates knowledge that is not based on scientific method of inquiry. Most people tend to ascribe the credit for technological achievements to the physical sciences, whereas, in fact, technological progress is due to a combination of many aspects of human life, including politics, law, education, art, commerce, and philosophy. Lack of appreciation for this, according to Onigbinde, has made many to assume that only science and no other field can yield knowledge and understanding. However, the implications and the inadequacies of this conception is restriction of human knowledge to human experience, which is half knowledge or lopsided knowledge. Clarification of concepts. In this conception, philosophy is reduced to the role of clarification of the meaning of words and concepts. To the advocates of this conception, the function of philosophy is to clarify the meaning of words. Love of wisdom. The word philosophy comes from the Greek words philos, philia, philen, which means friend, love, to love, and sophia, which means wisdom. Philosophy includes both the seeking of wisdom and the wisdom that is sought. The search for truth. When René Descartes, a mathematician who turned to a philosopher, declared his interest in philosophy, he was looking for a certain and distinct knowledge that can be certain and distinct as mathematical truths are. The philosopher's superiority lies in his constant disposition to spurn fame and profits and go for the truth. In conclusion, we submit with Omerebe that philosophy is a rational search for answers to the questions that arise in the mind when we reflect on human experience. It is also a rational search for answers to the basic questions about the ultimate meaning of reality and of human life. Thank you. Kindly refer to your course materials for further reading. You're welcome to GST 203 Introduction to Philosophy and Logic. Module 1, Unit 2, Methods of Philosophy. Methods refer to the way by which the act of philosophy can be carried out. In this unit, we shall be examining the various ways by which philosophical processes have been carried out from the time of Socrates. The methods include Socratic method, synthetic dialectic method of Plato, pragmatic method, skepticism, empiricism and rationalism, Kant's critical transcendental method, dialectical method of Hegel. Empiricism and rationalism as a method of philosophy is mainly confined to sense experience. It urges that all knowledge obtained by the senses is of what is already existent outside themselves, and that reason has its function in carefully judging the nature of the perceptive material provided to it by the senses. Kant's critical method. This method of philosophy employed by Kant takes stock of the arguments of empiricism and rationalism and builds a new system of tremendous importance in the history of philosophic thought. He points out that though the material of our knowledge is supplied by the senses, the universality and the necessity about it comes from the very nature and constitution of the understanding, which is the knower of all things in the world. Dialectical method of Hegel. This method consists in the constructive dialectical process of opposition and reconciliation. Thesis, antithesis, and synthesis are its moments. In conclusion, the true philosophic method should not be lopsided, should not be biased to any or special dogma, but comprehend within itself the processes of reflection and speculation, and at the same time be able to reconcile the deductive and the inductive methods of reasoning. Kindly refer to your course material for further reading. Thank you. Welcome to GST 203, Introduction to Philosophy and Logic. Today we are going to study Module 1, Unit 3, Branches of Philosophy. This study introduces you to the major branches of philosophy. It is an opportunity for you to know the divisions and subdivisions within philosophy. Different branches of philosophy. The different branches of philosophy are logic, epistemology, metaphysics, ethics. This logic is a branch that has been explained differently by various scholars, but one common factor in all these definitions is that logic is not far from the ability to distinguish between good and bad, or it can be said to be an appraisal of reasoning. Epistemology is also one of the traditional branches of philosophy. Etymologically, it derives from two Greek words, epistem, which means knowledge, and logos, which means science of study, discourse or reasoning put together. Epistemology is the study of the science of knowledge. Metaphysics. This has been defined as the science of being as being. Being curtail. This is the branch of philosophy that studies reality in its most comprehensive scope and fundamental principles. It is a science that tries to determine the real nature of things. Ethics is mostly known as the branch of philosophy which deals with the morality of human actions in society. Etymologically, ethics derive from the Greek word ethos, which means custom or character. It is a customary or acceptable way of acting. It is the philosophy of the morality of human conduct. Types of ethics. We have descriptive ethics, normative or prescriptive ethics, and meta-ethics. In conclusion, the core branches of philosophy are logic, metaphysics, epistemology, and ethics. Kindly refer to your course materials for further reading. Welcome to GST 203, Introduction to Philosophy and Logic. Today we are going to study Module 1, Unit 4, Philosophy and Other Disciplines. This study unit introduces you to the analysis of the relationship between philosophy and some other disciplines, bearing in mind that there is no discipline per se that does not stem from philosophy as parent discipline. The different disciplines are science, religion, education, and law. Science. It can be said that the main purpose of science as a discipline is to observe, understand natural phenomena, and then control processes. Unlike philosophy, science is best known as an exact discipline. However, there is no doubt that science stemmed from philosophy. It is also true that as a discipline, science bears some specific characteristic difference from philosophy. Note that the scientist's main business is to explain natural phenomena, while a philosopher does not intend to do so. An average scientist always seeks for explanation, while the philosopher basically seeks for justification. Philosophy and religion. The purposes of philosophy and religion are fundamentally opposed. A philosopher is always critical, while a religionist is not. For a religionist, the role of reason is basically one of interpreting and defending the dogma derived from sources whose authority and truth is taken on faith. While any serious philosopher begins his investigations from a position of intellectual neutrality, regardless of where his personal sympathies may lie. Philosophy and education. In this branch of philosophy, the philosopher examines the concept of education and what it means to educate and how best it can be achieved. He looks at stages involved in education and what the goals of ideal education are. Philosophy and law. Philosophy of law broadens man's horizon and opens the human mind to see that there is more to the reality of law and legal experience than can be seen through the empirical study of law. In conclusion, philosophy may be significantly different from other disciplines, but it is noteworthy that it also has very vital and conspicuous relationship with them. Kindly refer to your course material for further reading. Thank you. Welcome to GST 203 Introduction to Philosophy and Logic. Today we are going to study Module 1, Unit 5. The usefulness of philosophy. This study will introduce you to the usefulness of philosophy. It is an opportunity for you to know how useful philosophy is to humankind and the environment. The usefulness of philosophy, as discussed here, will enhance your understanding of philosophy as distinguished from those who conceive it as an abstract contemplation. Some of the usefulness of philosophy include: it helps to foster or develop the habit of reflections and thus further help us to enlarge the areas of our awareness to become more alive. Philosophy in the intellectual realm trains one to think clearly, critically, and independently. At moral level, it helps to provide insight in distinguishing among values and to identify for oneself what is best and most relevant. As a professional in any field, philosophy provides the intellectual background helpful to success. In conclusion, some persons hold the view that philosophy is an abstract and believe that philosophy has no practical relevance to humankind. But the usefulness of philosophy in the various fields of study makes this assertion to be untrue. Kindly refer to your course materials for further studies. Thank you. Welcome to GST 203 Introduction to Philosophy and Logic. Today we are going to study Module 1, Unit 6. Sources of knowledge and criteria for knowing. In this unit, you will be exposed to the different sources and criteria for knowing. You will have the opportunity to differentiate between common sense and philosophical understanding of knowledge, belief, and opinion. It is important to note that the relationship and the difference between knowledge, opinion, and belief depend on the individual's position. Types of knowledge. We have common sense, understanding of knowledge, opinion, and belief. Philosophical, understanding of knowledge, opinion, and belief. Sources of knowledge. We have reason, sense experience, authority, intuition, revelation, and faith. In conclusion, this unit dealt with different sources of knowledge and their criteria for knowing. It also emphasized the common sense and philosophical understanding of knowledge, belief, and opinion. Thank you for listening, and please refer to your course material for further reading.